Breasia Terrell, during the period of July of 2020, was a 10-year-old girl. Her mother is Aisha Langford. Breasia had an older brother with the initials of CS, who was 13 during this period of time, and she had a younger brother by the name of DL, who was 8 years of age. Henry Dinkins is the biological father of DL. He is not the biological father of Breasia Terrell, and he is not the biological father of the older boy, CS, who was 13 at the time. Aisha Langford is going to get on the stand, and she's going to testify that she met Henry Dinkins when she was around 18 or 19 years of age. And by virtue of the relationship that they had, she became pregnant, and that's when she had conceived DL. As far as describing the relationship that she had with Henry Dinkins over the course of DL's life, she will testify that he was not a father who was actively engaged in the child's life. He was not an individual who would spend a lot of time with his son. He was not an individual that his son would go visit on a regular occasion. In fact, he was not an individual who was actively providing regular support to the family. At any rate, with that being said, that takes us to the time frame of June of 2020. Now, during the summer of 2020, Aisha Langford will testify that, in fact, there was opportunities to spend time at an activity where Henry Dinkins was located at. There were cookouts that were taking place. That would have happened during June of 2020. She and the children were participants in that cookout that Mr. Dinkins was responsible for putting on. And then during that period of time, Aisha Langford had the opportunity to meet a young woman by the name of Andrea Culberson. Andrea Culberson was a woman who was the girlfriend of Henry Dinkins, and she will testify that she had been involved in a 6-year relationship with Henry Dinkins. Now, Andrea Culberson, she lived over at the Jersey Meadow Apartments. The address is 2744 Jersey Meadow Apartments, number 8. And that was an apartment that she was sharing with Henry Dinkins. With the backdrop of what had occurred in June of 2020, Aisha Langford will testify that around July 8th, she was traveling in her car with her son, DL, and happened to see the defendant travel past them and pull into a quick shop. DL expressed an interest in wanting to spend some time with his father. That prompted Aisha Langford to pull into the quick shop, engage Mr. Dinkins in a conversation, and indicate to him that he needed to spend some time with his son. By virtue of that conversation, Mr. Dinkins indicated that he would take the child, for a few days and spend some time with him. And so arrangements had been made for him to call, to come pick up DL, and the date that that particular event played out was actually on July 9th of 2020.
All right, we need to squeeze in a commercial break here. When we come back, we'll have more of the state's opening statement. Stay with us.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, Leah Remini and the Church of Scientology. The actress has long been a critic of the controversial religion and is now suing for harassment and defamation. Our experts weigh in on the allegations and the church's response. Plus, the latest updates from the alleged murder-for-hire plot involving a former beauty queen will take you to the Bahamas as we dive deeper into this captivating case.
Closing Arguments with Vinnie Politan, tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Ted Rollins, along with Chanley Painter, who is live in Las Vegas, co-anchoring this hour as she prepares for the Thomas Randolph trial. We're also on verdict watch in the best friend murder trial retrial this afternoon for Austin Ford. The then 20-year-old is standing trial again after a jury deadlocked earlier this year on whether or not he was guilty of murdering his best friend Tory Lange. She was found shot to death with a bullet wound to her head. Although the medical examiner couldn't determine the manner of death, we'll see if this jury can come to a conclusion. Any question or verdict, of course, will race you into that Georgia courtroom.
But let's take you back to Davenport, Iowa for the Sleepover Kidnapping Murder Trial. That's where 51-year-old Henry Dinkins faces charges in the death of a 10-year-old, Breasia Terrell. She and her younger brother were spending the night at Dinkins' apartment in July 2020 when Breasia vanished. In the middle of the night, Dinkins is accused of shooting her and then dumping her body in a pond. He's facing a life sentence without the possibility of parole if convicted. We've been playing you the opening statements for prosecutors, so let's go back inside that Davenport, Iowa courtroom now to listen to more.
After Mr. Dinkins and the children got back to the apartment, it was a normal evening. Andrea Culberson, Mr. Dinkins' girlfriend, she works for AT&T, and she actually works out of her home. She was working till sometime around 7:30 that evening. While she was working, Breasia was very, very interested in the type of work that she was doing, and Ms. Culberson was showing her how she performed her responsibilities for AT&T. Playing video games in the living room. Aisha Langford got off of work from Checkers late that afternoon. She had been notified by her mother that Henry Dinkins had taken Breasia. And so therefore, there would be the need to pack up clothes for the children. Aisha went back to the residence. She packed up a bag of clothing for Breasia, and she packed up clothing for, which would have included pajamas for both of the children. And I make that point for a reason, because that will become the subject of conversation as I proceed through my opening statement. Aisha responds to the apartment complex. This was not a complex that she was familiar with. She'd never been to the Culberson apartment before. At any rate, when she responded to the complex, she called to notify the parties that she was out in the parking lot, and Breasia came down to gather the clothing. Mom had the family pet with them, the dog. Breasia was really excited about it. In fact, Breasia wanted to take the dog with her up to the apartment. Mom had to call her back and say, no, the family pet's going home. But at any rate, you know, it was one of those of give the clothes, love you, have a wonderful time. And then Aisha left with Breasia going back inside the apartment complex, or I should say apartment number 8, with the clothing. After Aisha left the Jersey Meadow apartment, she took a right-hand turn on 53rd, so she's traveling west. The weather that night is also an issue that becomes very important to talk about, because as she was traveling north and got to the area of North High, there was a significant thunderstorm that broke out. And it was raining so hard that her windshield wipers would not keep up, so she had to pull over into a driveway and wait until the rain subsided before she went back to her apartment. And I believe she was staying with Anita Gardner. The family was in transition, and then they were moving back. She got back to the apartment, was very tired, having worked all day, took a bath, and very simply, I mean, she fell asleep on the couch, and she was out for the evening. At some point, unbeknownst to her, the children, DL and Breasia, neither of which had cell phones that they could take with them to the Culberson apartment. She had received a telephone call from Henry Dinkins' phone that was unanswered. And then the caller became very apparent because then there was a text message that came through from Breasia saying, "Good night, Mommy, I love you," all out. So that was somewhere around 10, 11 o'clock in the evening. As far as how the evening played out at the Culberson apartment, leading up to bedtime, each of the children took baths in the bedroom separately. They were fed some dinner, and then and Breasia were to sleep in the bedroom on the bed. Miss Culberson had a blow-up mattress that was out in the living room on the floor where she and Mr. Dinkins were to sleep. Breasia was the first one to go to bed, and from the living room you could actually look through the door of the bedroom and you could see the bed, because if you're standing at the doorway of the bedroom, very simply you look forward and the bed is straight ahead of you. And then the headboard of the bed actually is right underneath a big window. That window actually looks out into the parking lot of the apartment complex, and that will become very important for later discussions that I'm going to have in my opening statement. So Breasia goes to bed first. Andrea Culberson lays down to go to sleep. She can hear Mr. Dinkins say to him that he has so much time to play the video game and that he's going down to bed, and then was in the bedroom asleep. When Miss Culberson went to sleep, the last that she knew of Mr. Dinkins and his whereabouts was that he was there in the living room on the couch. Miss Culberson is a very heavy sleeper, and she'll testify to that. At 3 a.m. in the morning, she woke up because she needed to use the bathroom. When she woke up, she discovered that Mr. Dinkins was not there in the living room. That seemed odd to her. She got up, went into the bedroom. She noticed DL sleeping at the foot of the bed, but where little Breasia had fallen asleep, on the right-hand side and toward the top of the bed, there were simply the covers that had been folded over, and there was no child there. There was a sense of alarm. She went to the bathroom to use the bathroom, but she decided to get her glasses and put her glasses on to make sure that Breasia wasn't there. And Breasia was not there. Mr. Dinkins wasn't there, and Breasia wasn't there. Ms. Culberson will testify that she had a very uneasy feeling about that. Now at 3:30 a.m. in the morning, and this is a time specific because she had looked at a clock that was on her desk that said it was 3:30 in the morning, she heard Mr. Dinkins very quietly open the door and very quietly come up the stairs into the apartment. And she wanted to know where he was at and where Breasia was at. Mr. Dinkins wasn't really responding to questions other than just to say something very circumspect. He went into the bedroom, flipped on a light, and then went to his closet. Now, if we talk about the bedroom itself, when you're standing there in the doorway, on the left-hand side, that's where you would access the bathroom. And then, again, there is a closet on that side. That was Miss Culberson's closet where she kept her personal belongings. On the right side of the bed, there was a closet where Mr. Dinkins kept his things. She will testify that Mr. Dinkins went to that closet. He was rummaging around through things. She's wanting to know where Breasia is at. He's rummaging through things. She happens to pull back the curtain to the window and looks out, and little Breasia is standing by a maroon Chevy Impala on the passenger side of the vehicle. There were dark tinted windows. on the Impala. And then on the trunk, on the right-hand side, there was a white sticker. On the front of the vehicle, in the area of the windshield, there was a front sticker. And so those characteristics were the characteristics used by law enforcement to identify that maroon Chevy Impala when steps were taken to identify locations that Henry Dinkins had traveled during the early morning hours of June 10th, and we're talking after midnight, and up to the period of noon when he presented himself to the Davenport Police Department. The black Camaro is also very distinctive in the sense that it has the face of a lion on both the driver's side of the vehicle and the passenger side of the vehicle, with king and queen noted in the area of where that lion's face is at. And then there's, you know, that same type of design on the front hood of the Camaro. Those two vehicles remained parked and were available for use there at the address of 2744 East 53rd Street. Now, Mr. Dinkins also had a motorhome. This motorhome was located in an industrial area, actually in a fenced-in lot. And that lot belonged to a gentleman who owned Devon's, D-E-V-O-N''S, self-storage.
All right, Kelly Cunningham delivering the opening for the state of Iowa. And a reminder, if it looks like Ms. Cunningham is staring at the judge and not the jury, she is, because there is no jury. It's a bench trial, correct, Chanley? That's why, if you're just joining us, it might look a little weird.
Yeah, people may have been wondering. Good thing to point out, that was something the defendant waived his right to the jury, chose to have a judge decide maybe to take some of the emotion from a jury out of this because it is a 10-year-old victim, Ted. We'll have to wait and see, but we're going to squeeze in a break for now. Take our viewers back inside that Davenport, Iowa courtroom right after this quick break on Court TV, your front row seat to justice.
These are the cases that captivated the world.
Couldn't keep my life straight.
That demanded our attention.
They were killed by their own children.
That challenged the legal system and ourselves.
How in the world can a mother wait 30 days before reporting her child missing?
These are the trials that became legendary. And now you can relive them all in one place. Court TV Legendary Trials. Go to courttv.com/legendary trials to find out how to watch.
Welcome back. I'm Chanley Painter in Las Vegas, joining Ted Rollins for the special hour of Court TV Live. In Georgia, we are in a verdict watch. That jury has been deliberating for more than 30 minutes, just over 30 minutes, in the best friend murder retrial. Prosecutors say that Austin Ford murdered his best friend, Tory Lane, back in June of 2021, although a medical examiner could not determine the manner of death. Was it suicide or was it a homicide? We'll take you back inside that courtroom as soon as we have a verdict or a question from that jury.
We're also bringing you opening statements from Iowa, where a registered sex offender faces a judge in the Sleepover Kidnapping Murder Trial. Henry Dinkins is accused of killing his son's half-sister, Breasia Terrell, back in July 2020. Prosecutors say he shot the 10-year-old little girl, then dumped her body in a pond. Let's pick up the prosecution's opening statements.
Then on April 3rd, the Big River Rescue and Recovery Team came out to the scene, and then the dive team went into the pond looking for a gun, and there was actually a revolver that was found. So with the revolver, obviously there's not going to be any casings because there was an attempt to try and find casings in the area. There wasn't any. With the finding of the revolver, you know, the projectiles obviously leaving the gun, the empty casings were there. There was still some light ammunition there. There was attempts to try and identify who had purchased that gun. Unfortunately, the records associated with that were in Cedar Rapids, and when there was that big flood, in the area of the courthouse and all of that, all of the records were destroyed. Those projectiles were then sent to the DCI laboratory to do comparisons with the gun itself. One of the projectiles was pretty mangled up, and because these had been out in the elements for quite a while, the criminalist who evaluated that looked at the characteristics of the revolver and what characteristics would be transferred to a bullet by virtue of the manufacturing process and how the barrel itself will have unique markings. He could say that what characteristics that were there were similar to this gun, and then the criminals put together a list of every type of gun that would produce those types of similar characteristics. The gun recovered was on that list. There was DNA processing done of her little clothing. One of the issues that law enforcement was dealing with the little body and clothing being out there subject to the elements, the sun, the wind, the rain, the snow, obviously over time, that will destroy DNA. And from the FBI, here's what you're going to hear from the FBI. There were search warrants, a massive amount of search warrants issued. And in instances like with the Chevy Impala or different vehicles, multiple search warrants issued. The vehicles were photographed and they were searched. Of note, in the Chevy Impala, there was an axe, there was a baseball bat, but then there was an empty sleeve for like a knife or a machete, but no machete there. When they were recovering the remains of Breasia Terrell, there was a bunch of tree branches and stuff on top of the skeletal remains. Some of those branches, there were natural breaks, with the wind, and there would be the splintering of the branch if it comes off of a tree. Other branches had a clean slice through it. So that was of interest to law enforcement. It described when he and his father went down to Credit Island, his father had walked off into an area toward like what would be the pond, and his father had a knife that he was wiping off. Law enforcement went down to that area, and there were foot impressions in the dirt where you could see what would have been the pattern on the sole of the shoes worn. That was photographed and that was collected, and then as those footprints moved forward to the body of water, that basically it became just, depressions in the ground where it was more muddy. And so those photographs and those casts were taken because one of the things that Aisha Langford talked about is when she had contact with Henry Dinkins at the apartment, she noticed that he was wearing a pair of gold shoes that had mud on them. He had a do-rag on, and it was just kind of askew. And he had on a white T-shirt, and it was a little dirty. Not something that was markedly dirty, but she noticed that it was dirty. Henry Dinkins came down to the Davenport Police Department at noon and was interviewed by Detective Owen. When he came down, he had on a white T-shirt and the shorts that he was wearing at the apartment complex. But those gold shoes, he was not wearing those. He had on a different pair of tennis shoes. And then the other thing that the state will throw into the equation that the court will hear about, during Henry Dinkins' interview, he was asked about why he was leaving the apartment in the middle of the night in his travels. He had talked about going to the Quick Shop over on 53rd, that would be near the old Menards, where the old Menards was at, to buy cigarettes. That video surveillance feed was collected. He was wearing those gold shoes, but then he had on something distinctly different. What I'm going to call the wife beater white T-shirt versus one that has sleeves, and then a different pair of shorts, that had different pattern.
All right, Kelly Cunningham delivering the opening statement for the state of Iowa. We're bouncing up against the top of the hour, meaning we're going to have to get a commercial break in here.